Good evening, everyone. We are delighted to welcome you all to the inaugural session of our Tech in Medicine workshop series in collaboration with MedX2023. Before we delve into details, let's take a moment to familiarize ourselves with what MedX is about. To kickstart things, we will present a video followed by introduction from our chairperson, Ishani Kanamulla, who will provide valuable insights on today's events.
Thank you, Kamali. So I'll be going on with the introduction to today's workshop and MedX. So it is with immense pleasure that we warmly welcome all of you to MedX 2023. We applaud you for grasping this unique opportunity to showcase your innovative skills in the island's only healthcare ideatum for medical undergraduates. This year, MedX marks history as for the first time ever. It is open to medical undergraduates of all state medical faculties in Sri Lanka. MedX commenced with the aim of involving medical students in revolutionizing the field of healthcare, utilizing medical technology as their innovative approaches to mitigate the current healthcare complexities. It becomes clearer by the day that technology will be the future of medicine, and thus we believe that MedX will provide a foundation to all medical undergraduates to establish their path to educating themselves about medical education as a lifelong journey. Thank you. Over to you, Tamati.
Thank you, Ashani. Today we begin our Tech in Medicine workshop series with our first workshop, How to Kickstart Your Project. This workshop will equip you with skills necessary to initiate your project in the most precise way. Learning the art of project launching holds significance for all undergraduates, and we hope this workshop will effectively guide you through this valuable process. We are very proud to share this platform today with two remarkable speakers who have displayed excellence in the field of biomedical research. Firstly, let me introduce to you all Mr. Kithmin Wickremasinghe. Mr. Wickremasinghe is a past alumni of Faculty of Engineering, University of Moratuwa. He was awarded with the Manantari Award in 2020 for the most outstanding undergraduate engineering research project, and currently he is a graduate research assistant in the Faculty of Applied Science, University of British Columbia. It is a privilege to collaborate with him today in this endeavor. We are extremely grateful that also joining Mr. Kithmin is Mr. Jathurshan Pradeepkumar, who is also a past alumni of the Faculty of Engineering, University of Moratuwa. He was crowned Champion of Brainstorm 2019 and was a postbaccalaureate fellow at the Center for Advanced Imaging at Harvard University. He is currently a PhD student at the University of Illinois, and we are honored to have him today with us as well. We are extremely grateful to have you both, these brilliant speakers today, to enlighten you all with their wisdom regarding commencing a project. If you have any questions regarding the topics discussed in the workshop, please feel free to submit them through the provided link in the chat, or simply type them in the Zoom chat, or directly ask your questions by unmuting yourself at the end of the session. Now, without further ado, let me welcome Mr. Kithmin Wickremasinghe to carry out the session. Over to you, Mr. Wickremasinghe.
Okay. Thank you, Tamati, for that great introduction to me and Jathurshan. So I think I'll share my screen quickly. Okay. Yeah, can someone let me know if they can see my screen clearly?
Yeah, Mr. Kithmin.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, before I begin, I'd like to thank Kavindu for inviting both of us to talk to you all today. And I know it's pretty late, actually pretty early for me and Jathurshan, probably like very early in the morning here, but we were really happy to accept the invite and like have this opportunity to talk to all of you. So yeah, we have some experience that from like what we did back in our undergrad that we'd like to share with all of you. And I have some questions I'll probably put along during the session as well, just to gauge your interest and things like that. And also at the end of the session, so please feel free to ask questions. So as the organizing committee said, like submit them to them so we can get back to you. Okay, yeah, let's get into it. So today I will be going over a few things in this project, in this presentation on how to kickstart your project. So the first thing is this 3 circles that sort of coincide on this concept called a golden circle. The second is how we approach this technology in medicine kind of concept, and some viewpoints from what we did in our undergrad, some case studies. And then Jathurshan will sort of take over in the middle of the presentation to cover his personal experience and kind of a nice outline towards how to kickstart your project. So yeah, stay tuned until like the end of the presentation, so like you can get all that valuable information from him. So yeah. Okay. Can anyone tell me what this is? Maybe this what's here on the left side of the screen. Maybe you can like put your answers in the chat if anyone can recognize what this is. If you're courageous, you can also unmute and let me know. Does anyone have any guesses? I don't think I see anyone. Okay, yeah, it is a jet engine. Can anyone like be more specific? Can someone recognize what jet engine or what engine it is? I still didn't get the. I can give you a hint. Recently, they did a test launch. Yes, yeah, one person gave the answer. Yeah, so it's from SpaceX. As you can see, like there's 33 engines here. So it's a rocket engine. It's specifically like the Raptor engine that SpaceX designed for their big Starship project. And I think like last month onwards, they are doing test launches. I think the second one's happening soon as well. And they're planning to kind of do a big launch, I think somewhere next year. And like I don't know if you know, but this is the biggest I guess like rocket launch that has happened in the history of mankind. But that's not the important point. So the reason I brought this up was to let you know that like one of like these jet engines or rocket engines, they're built with sensors inside them, and a typical rocket or jet engine has like more than 10,000 sensors to make sure that they monitor and ensure that they operate correctly. And sometimes there's even duplicates of 2 sensors, the same sensor, wherever possible. So there's like that much engineering and precision that goes into jet engines. So why am I talking about jet engines in a medical presentation? How many times do you go to the doctor to check yourself per year? Whether to make sure that you are operating safely or correctly, whether you don't have any underlying conditions. How many if you know about our parents' generation, how many times have they been to the doctor had the early diagnosis of certain conditions that they might have suffered later in life. So this is a big issue in medicine. There's like people don't take care of themselves as enough as they want to because of their busy lives, and we need more innovation. We need more sensing and monitoring techniques to come into medicine in order for people's lives to be healthier, right? And that's a role where engineers, doctors can play, and actually are doing research and playing a big role as of right now, but can do like more innovation to kind of bridge that gap and make healthcare a better field. So why I brought this up was when you're doing a project in medicine, there's always this concept of why you are doing it. So you have to go to the source and figure out what the problem is and understand the problem, figure out a purpose. In biomedical engineering, there's this thing like biomedical engineering 101. Go talk to the doctor. Like go to the source of the problem and understand it. So what is your cause? What do you believe in? So figure that out first. And then you can come out of the circle and think about what is your process? How are you going to get a set of actions, list a set of actions that you know that you need to do in order to realize this purpose that you built. And that's probably where the engineering and the diagnosing and all those things happen. And then at the very end, with what you kind of do, like you do it and then you show your results of how you did it and then prove that it works and all of those things. So there's this concept called the golden circle. It was developed by someone called Simon Sinek. He's a great speaker. You can watch his YouTube videos if you get the chance. So he developed this concept where big companies, like successful companies like Apple, they use this concept called why first, and they come out of the circle, and that's how they have developed great products, like the Apple Watch or the iPhone, things like that. So there were some very memorable instances when I was an undergrad where people applied this concept very successfully. Actually, Jathurshan's team was also one of them, but I didn't include that here since he's speaking to you today. So this was one of my fellow colleagues. Actually, he's my brother's age. He was a student at University of Colombo when I was in my undergrad, fourth year, I think. And this was one of my batch mates, Praga. So they teamed up together. And this is his wife, actually. Both of them teamed up with Praga. And they invented this product called Nephrostrap. This was I think they did it for their elective, medical elective that they came to University of Monato and did it under the supervision of Nuansa, Dr. Nuansa Dayananda, and also I think Professor Saroj Jayasinghe from University of Colombo. And they developed this innovative tool that took pictures of urine samples and kind of did an early detection technique, which was used to prove conditions like the nephrotic syndrome. So the invention was very unique, and I don't think there was anything like that in the space. So they actually won Brainstorm. I think the premier Brainstorm. Yeah. So the first Brainstorm, I think that they won this competition from that innovation. And that was pretty cool. And I think this is a great example to show you how engineer and a doctor can come together and with their interdisciplinary skills, they could develop these kinds of innovative solutions that the medical space is missing. And another great example, so that was a local story. So this is a global story about a team from the Czech Republic. So they won this competition called the Microsoft Imaging Cup in 2017 by actually proposing this continuous glucose monitoring device, which is actually which has already been achieved today. There's great products out there in the market. I think Abbott is one of those big products right now, but they came up, they pitched this concept before most of those products hit globally in the market. So back then, glucose monitoring was the holy grail of wearable sensing. So people hadn't achieved it, and in fact, it has taken over 40 years of engineering, research, and development to produce this device. I'll show you it in later slides. But definitely, this is one of the biggest deals for the world, because as you can see in the slide, there's only more than 450 million people in the world with diabetes, and they have to have a way to monitor their glucose on a daily basis. And all of you know that the standard way is you have to prick blood from your finger and do the monitoring tests, which is not actually comfortable for people who are affected by the sight of blood and things like that. So this was a very good invention that was introduced to the world, and there's a huge market as well. So with that thought, I was thinking where should we approach this subject of how to kickstart your project, actually a project related to medicine, right? And I think one of the most comfortable or most familiar areas that we currently are experiencing, me and Jathurshan, is sensing and relate things we can do related to the human body, and also we'll talk about things outside the human body, which I think Jathurshan is going to talk more about. But here, things like monitoring, sensing, imaging, sequencing, infusing, data collection, analyzing, inferencing, assisting, all those things you can deal with the human body. And there's so many ways, as you can see, a watch, a bandage, shoes, your mask, clothing. There's so many ways you can do different kinds of things on the human body, in vitro, ex vitro. So you can go invasively into the body, or you can deal with wearable things outside the body. So there's so many things we can discuss. So I think today we'll go over some case studies to inspire you on what people have done, what have been commercialized, and things like that. So let's start with something very famous, I guess. Can anyone guess what this is? And someone has to give the answer for this, definitely. Okay, yeah, great. Someone got to the answer. So it's an Apple Watch. Can anyone guess what this part is here? The one where I'm pointing a red arrow to. So it's an Apple Watch taken apart, right? So I wonder if anyone knows what this part I'm pointing to is. It's very unlikely someone here has taken over. Oh, next. I don't think anyone here has taken off an Apple, taken apart an Apple Watch. I had to, because mine kind of got, the Apple Watch is marketed as the most durable smartwatch out there, but then we jumped into the pool 5 months ago and the screen of the watch came off. So I had the pleasure of taking apart my Apple Watch. So yeah, I'm not buying Apple again, don't worry. So the answer is this is a PPG sensor. So there's a few sensing devices in there, but essentially it contains the PPG sensor. So I'll probably tell you what that is in the coming slides. So our first case study. This is the human body and the all these blood vessels and everything. So what is this system that I'm looking at from the systems in the human body? Okay, yeah. So it's a cardiovascular system. Thank you. So, so with the cardiovascular system, you have access to the heart, mainly the blood flow in the body. So, what kind of things can you do with it? So here's a example here, which is actually doing this function here. So it's sending this current through the skin, and it's measuring the amount of current that traveled through the skin and came out from the other, like came in from one electrode and came out from the other electrode. And there's like based on the impedance or the resistance to the current is seeing, there's going to be like a small sensing action happening here. And this armband is able to sense and amplify and then send that sample and then send that to a smartphone user interface. And basically, it's a non-invasive blood glucose monitor. So as you all know, as I mentioned earlier, so the blood glucose is happening with the prick of the finger, collecting the blood and then measuring the amount of glucose or anything in the blood. That's also a currents, there's electrodes in there that measure the amount of impedance that the electrodes are seeing, but it's still invasive because you have to get the blood out. But this one is a non-invasive technique people have been trying to develop over years. I think Nuance has also done final year projects on this concept. And then here is the continuous blood glucose monitoring device. I said like that took more than 40 years to develop. So this little patch has a small micro needle that injects into the skin, and it has a layer of kind of I don't remember the exact name of that. So that interacts with the blood, and then it measures the amount of glucose, and then you can like monitor the glucose in a continuous manner. So every day, I think every hour or so, it monitors the amount of glucose and then gives you this graph. So that's very, very neat, and very it fits the market very well. So this has been a very successful product, and people have been trying to replicate the success of this product through other ventures, including my lab, which I'm currently working in. We're trying to develop biosensors that would like potentially take over the market similar to this. This is what we answered in the previous one, the PPG sensor. So the blood in the cardiovascular system, the heart beats at a certain rate. So you can measure the heart rate using signals called PPG signals. And all these devices here are able to do that. So they they use a similar technique, shine light into the blood, and then measure the amount of light that was transmitted or reflected, and they build a shape, signal shape, which corresponds to this PPG pulse, and from that you can measure the heart rate and actually get other data as well about even the underlying heart conditions. That's very interesting. Like early detection is also possible, so people are currently investigating that, but there's no conclusive product out there, but definitely heart rate works. And this is a very fashionable device now. It's called the what's this one called? Oura Ring. So I think Kim Kardashian is also pretty into this. I think I just saw an article that she's a big fan of this thing, and so this is a pretty nice product, I think. Okay. And just for the sake of, I know this is this part is probably too high tech, but just for the sake of letting you guys know, if you ever wanted to understand how these kinds of products are built, there's actually reference documents online. Companies like Maxim Integrated Analog Devices, Texas Instruments, they have reference documents that outline how step-by-step these products are built. And you can see they have all the documentation about how the internal architecture of the PCBs, what kind of ICs they actually have, the custom ICs available for purchase. And you can build this thing at your home if you know the techniques, or if you collaborate with someone like an engineer who knows how to build it. And then, yeah, it is very cool work. So as I mentioned, like they detail all the ICs. They already have custom solutions for the ICs. You just have to put them together on a PCB like this, put in the firmware, test all the connections and everything, and then yeah, you're good to go. Okay, and yeah, this is actually the kind of like a timeline of how they developed this thing. I think they're on version 4 now. Any questions so far? Is everyone okay? Okay. Yeah, let's get going then. Okay, so I discussed about the cardiovascular system, and then I'm hoping to kind of like go through different areas of the human body where people have come up with medical innovations. They might be a little bit biased towards what an electrical engineer sees, I guess, or electronics engineer, or electronics trained biomedical engineer, whatever is most appropriate. But yeah, this is kind of the things that we were exposed to as undergrads, and I'll kind of go over that. But I believe that the internet and this space has a lot more than what I'm covering in these slides. So this is a very interesting thing, something I've tried as an undergrad. I built this thing here on the left as well. It's called an OpenBCI EEG headset, and I think you can build it for roughly $500 or so, because this board is pretty expensive actually. But if you build it custom, like if you build it yourself, you buy the ICs and you design the PCB and everything, you can do it for less than that, maybe like less than $150. And then this guy is using that to control this bionic arm. I also built my own bionic arm, I think, once, which is very interesting and very tiresome project. And here, this is very interesting. This was actually Jathurshan and mine's supervisor, Dr. Simon Capel. He was an assistant professor when we were at the department, and he invented this ear EEG device. You see that this person is wearing, and it can like get certain EEG data from the electrode connections that it makes in contact with your inner ear, and it's very sensitive as well. And the cool thing is Dr. Simon's team is now in Denmark, and they sent this device to space with one of the Danish astronauts, and they're collecting sleep monitoring data of how astronauts are sleeping in space, which is very cool, I think. And they like probably contribute like some big information to like human space exploration someday, I guess. Very cool. Yeah, and then this is another neat device. So these are EEG-based devices, so they measure electrical potential. And this is a FNIRS EEG, so it's near-infrared imaging kind of thing. So it's not measuring electrical, but it's measuring the reflected optical data or infrared data. And it's also used for EEG monitoring. And this is actually, does anyone know what this is? I hope one of you can probably guess. What is this? Okay, no, that's the guess. Anyone able to guess what that is? Okay, so I don't see any guesses. So this is Neuralink. I don't know if you have heard, like Elon Musk started this company to introduce wearable implants into the, implant them invasively into the human brain, and they have a cool website with the robot, surgical robot, and the Neuralink interface and all the cool stuff that they're going to do with this. And there's like conspiracy theory that he's trying to control human brains and stuff as well. So yeah, it's a very interesting endeavor that Musk was passionate about. And then this is another neat thing just to show you, like, is a real-time epileptic seizure detection action happening here. So like epilepsy is a big area that EEG research is applied to. And I think this kind of information or this kind of techniques are very important for certain people in our community, even like very small babies, like neonatal babies who suffer from these kinds of epileptic incidences. And there's like even Sri Lankan researchers doing this kind of research. And in our department, I think a few students are also pursuing this as one of their projects. So it's very interesting to do this kind of research as well. So these kind of things are collaborations between University of Colombo and University of Morocco. So like the doctors are the people with all the expertise and the access to patients, and the engineers take part in like designing the technology that helps them with this. Okay. So I'll quickly go over the rest of the case studies and hand over to Jathurshan. This is some examples of the things that can be developed for the mouth, I guess. Smart mouth guards, defibrillators. Actually, not defibrillators. This is a nebulizer kind of device, or the sleep apnea monitoring. And you can build nebulizers as well, I guess. And then smart masks, and then like these kinds of breath monitoring devices or spirometers, and even like low-cost ventilators. This is a huge thing that came up during COVID times, when like people were suffering from breathing difficulties, and there was not enough ventilators to go around, and people were even MIT was putting out like designs for like low-cost ventilators, and we were also like trying to be parts of those teams. I think Jathurshan might have also, you were also involved back then. So that was an interesting time back then. And then from the head, you can come up with actually like with these kinds of VR devices for rehabilitation. Is very, very famously applied. Eye tracking monitor, like this is called the Tobii eye tracking device. So you can like do, you actually make your glasses into smart glasses, and you can track the movement of your eyes, and then like look at the feed real time. So there's a camera here that will overlay the motion of your eyeballs on this kind of a screen. And then these kinds of devices that transfer, like it has all these sensors embedded in it, and it transfers all your data while you're sleeping. So it's also, of course, sleep apnea detection and things. This is a very interesting one. So this is EMG signal analysis. So electromyography, typically taken from the forearms. So this is actually my final year project. I think that's my arm here. That's the PCB that we designed, and then these are the EMG sensors that we designed. And we were basically trying to like build a EMG solution that could control this robotic hand very accurately, which wasn't that impressive at the end of the FIP, but these guys here have actually achieved what we wanted to do, and they've done it like 100 times better. And this company is actually acquired by Facebook now. So I don't know when they'll release it, but this is actually a demo that they published a few years ago. They're like working at Facebook at the VR technology domain. And this device captures even the minute finger movements of your arm very accurately. And this is you can see that these are the EMG data that's coming out from each of these electrodes when your movements are like micro movements are happening. And I don't know, this is very impressive that they managed to do this. And this guy is called the Bionic Man, I think. He's the first person to kind of, I think, undergo this kind of prosthetic arm research using EMG, I think. That's what I remember. And yeah, he's a very famous guy. And this is, I think this is one of the most expensive bionic arms that have been outfitted. And it's a ongoing research. And it's very successful, I think, yeah. He used to use two EMG devices called the myobands, and yeah, it's very well going. Okay, a few more case studies. I think two more. So this is related to the chest area, where you can find the lungs and then the heart and breasts and other organs there. And there's also like lots of early detection of monitoring devices. You can see this neat innovation here. They've actually put a Lickman stethoscope in this kind of a ECG package. This is a wearable or actually a portable ECG device, very small form factor, and you can just pair it with your smartphone and get 6-lead ECG data. I actually have one of these, very cool. And then these are innovations that were done for, I think, early detection of breast cancer. And these are very popular right now. I don't know they're commercialized yet, but people are developing them for commercialization. Actually, dot plot is commercialized. So this is a very nice innovation. I think you can Google it. And this is something I was inspired when I was in the COVID era. This is the world's first successfully commercialized smart stethoscope, and doctors actually kind of embracing this smart stethoscope, where other solutions that came before this failed. This one has managed to become successful in the arena, but I don't like this design. So actually one of the projects that we were trying to do was to ergonomically improve this stethoscope. The stethoscope has survived, I think, years, or maybe like centuries of, not centuries, like hundreds of years of innovation. And the stethoscope, like the basic structure of the stethoscope never changed, but like this is a kind of a turning point where the stethoscope is kind of being embraced in new forms. And yeah, it's very exciting what people are doing with medicine and medical products. Yeah, final two. This is based on the foot. So foot pressure studies and these kinds of like foot pressure devices that they've been designed. Gait analysis, very important. I think one of our old professors at the department was very excited about gait analysis, tried to develop his own company as well. And I think they did a lot of research on foot pressure at our department as well, related to like early detection of diabetes and things like that. And then finally, imaging related things that were earlier, like these were devices that were earlier like very bulky and expensive, but people have managed to like miniaturize, even like miniaturize the MRI machine to like build portable MRI devices, portable ultrasound devices, retina scanning devices. So very exciting innovations coming up, and there's like so much space in this, so much like room in this domain to like come up with ideas and like actually build them and test them, and actually figuring out the gap, understanding the why you are doing this is the key for everything. And I think like Jathurshan will land a lot of insight on that. And yeah, just before I hand it over to him, this is kind of a article I found on like the top 10 healthcare innovation regimes coming up in the next century, not the century, decade or so. And like these are things that are like people are excited about, lots of funding here in the West for these things. Biosensors and trackers, my area. Telehealth, I think Jathurshan, somewhat related. Point of care diagnostics, very big. AI, obviously. And the immunotherapy, 3D printed devices, 3D printed like organic devices, 3D printed hearts, even organs. And yeah, social media for patient improvement experience. And next generation sequencing, yeah, very exciting. This one, like they're developing like miniaturized sequencing devices now. So yeah, like the medical space is becoming smaller, cheaper, less like more over the air, and very kind of like rapidly expanding and like being in tune with technological expansion. So improvements is very key to like succeeding in like having a good career in this upcoming kind of space actually. So yeah, very exciting. And I think I am ready to hand over to Jathurshan now. Shall I stop sharing the screen, Jathurshan?
Yes, I can share my screen.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Can anyone confirm like whether you can see my slide and am I audible enough?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you. See the slide. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So thank you, Kithmin. So what? Okay, so basically like my background is like bit. It's more related to Kithmin, but I'm bit deviated from like the hardware. Like I kind of like worked on hardware, but like I was like during my undergrads, I was mostly focused on the algorithm side and like something like to do with detection from biosignals, etc. So what I will be like just covering up in my presentation would be like outside the human body, like what are the areas, the problems or challenges in the health sector we could address. So this is kind of like important because like to my knowledge, like there aren't any project in Sri Lanka like, which kind of like addresses these issues. Like even in my department, like it was like it's more focused towards medical imaging and building electronics, the biosensors, and more towards biosignal. But also there are like unaddressed problems in the healthcare itself, like when we consider the hospital and its related services. So I will like covering on that, and then at the end I will like talk about my first project experience and then how to kind of like kickstart the project. So if you have any questions, like feel free to like even interrupt me in the between to kind of ask your questions. So starting off with like, so okay, let's consider if you take a hospital system, like, so what kind of let's say on perspective of like a algorithm side, like what kind of data you can acquire. So basically like when you consider like a smart hospital, like you have the patient healthcare records, which will have all their visit information, what are the diagnoses which was done on like during their visits, and what are the treatment they underwent, and some clinical notes from the doctors related to the observations, and you'll have like medical images. So, but like the challenge like in our country faces is like the biggest hurdle itself is like it's hard to obtain such kind of data in the hospital in our country, because mainly because like most of the data is not digitized. So it's kind of have been like a biggest hurdle in our country. So that's why I want to use this opportunity kind of like inspire to give out like inspiration like to work on problems to address the challenges in the hospital setting itself. So this is one thing, and maybe like digitizing such patient records and everything, that itself would be like a greater contribution itself, because like most of the records are manually written and manually recorded, and like converting them to electronic itself would like enable the more projects to come in this particular domain itself. And also additionally, like as you know, like from my perspective, like when I started my PhD, like here, like AI has been like more gotten into the healthcare sector now, and like it's kind of like the hot topic nowadays. And also one of the advantages is like to do early diagnosis. Here, like in US, like one of the good advantages, like even for like cancer, like they have developed systems where they can do early diagnosis, which itself help to help the cancer patients as you get better treatments. But the challenge in our country is like we don't have sufficient data. And as you know, like based on the demographics, the patient characteristics will change. Like let's say you have a model, if you just train it on the data from a different country and try to use it on our hospital system, it won't work. So that's why I'm kind of like want to like enforce on the importance of kind of like digitizing the patient health record. So like working on this itself would be like there are like lots of challenges can be addressed, and you can identify lots of problems in the sector. And moving on, like one of the good thing now is like in global wide there are lots of curated large public data sets of patient health records, which itself you can use it to kind of like do the analysis. These are publicly available. Like you can request access to these data set, and you can like work on novel issues on that. And okay, so more into the hospital system, like just imagine if you have a hospital system, like so what can be done. And also in the current situation of our country, like one of the problems is like the workload of the doctors is really high. So for the efficient care system and such that the patient will get the best care out of it, like there are lots of things can be done. So one of it, like I just like kind of like give you like some 3 examples, like in which direction you can also think a lot more. So the first is like patient doctor matching. So each and every doctor will have specialization in different areas, and to like when you go to hospital, like it's hard to kind of like get the best care. It's hard for the patient to get the best care from the best suitable doctor. So you can develop like algorithms, or in that sense, like to kind of like match the patient with the doctor, like so that they get the best care during the time, and also such that the doctor's workload will be also kind of distributed, and like they will be only focusing on what their expertise is in. So that will itself will make the life of doctors easier as well, and also it will enable the patient to get the best care. So that's kind of like comes under patient doctor matching, and it's kind of like everyone is kind of like exploring in this topic itself, like so to get the best care for the patients. And second, like using the data and everything, you can work on like developing decision support system. So you might be like familiar with like okay, ChatGPT. It's like giving like it's like performing really well. It's like matching, okay, and also generative models. It's kind of like giving really good graphic design. I mean designs and everything. But like in terms of healthcare, like it's a bit different story. So in healthcare, like it won't like even though if we have an advanced AI, it won't like change, it won't like take the position of the doctor. It will be more, and always it will be like an assistant system. So you can focus on developing like a decision support system, like to help the doctors to make better decisions during their diagnosis and analysis. So one thing is like you can build systems such that maybe using some medical imaging data, try to identify, let's say, a tumor or anything, and like to diagnose whether it's malignant or benign. So you can work on that. So as is like, since like I'm talking to people with like biological, like medical background, like as you know, like if you can diagnose a condition earlier, there are high chance that it can be cured, or it can like the patient will get better compared to late diagnosis. So this is one of like the important thing like you could also explore in our hospital systems and like work on. And the second one is like treatment recommendation. Like so you can develop systems like based on like there are lots of medical literature and everything. So you can develop systems like to recommend to make the best recommendation for that particular patient given his condition. So on adding on to that, I'm coming to the next one, like which is personalized medicine. So under this topic, like so you all know like each and every patient is unique. So there aren't like any common method or anything will work for everyone. So that's why like even the world in terms of medical research is also moving towards something like personalized treatment, like try to identify the best treatment for that particular patient itself, that for that particular individual. So if you take a drug, sometimes that particular dosage might work well for some certain patient type, but it won't work well for some other patient. So you have to like, so in terms of when you look in the perspective of the doctor, like it will be more like test, trial and fail and some kind of like, but like you can use the existing, like you can build algorithms such way that you can find the best treatment for that particular patient itself, or you can make suggestions to the doctor regarding that, and they can, based on their knowledge, they can validate it whether it's a correct way to move forward, and it will help them towards like giving a better treatment to the patient. So these are the some examples. So there's lot of work even happening in the world in this particular area, but these are something that you can also explore in the hospital domain and you can identify. And then just in terms of the other than the human body side, I will just touch on another area, which is like the medical education, how the current engineering and even the AI system can help. So let's say for education, like, so let's say if you are a doctor and you are tackling or you're like working with on a patient on like a rare condition or like some challenging condition. So as you know, like there are lots of medical literature like PubMed, and like there are lots of medical literature out there which like, and clinical trial record, which kind of like gives idea like what kind of like work, how does that drug work for this kind of like sample size, and there's like lots of information out there. But for one person to kind of like read everything and kind of like make a right decision in a short period of time, it's really hard and it's impossible. So in this case, you can build tools like to help the doctors, like let's say given a medical condition, provide a summarization of like medical literature out there and find the medical literature and kind of like provide something like a summarization. So you can like, so all the projects which I'm talking about would be like more of a collaboration, should have to be a collaboration between the medical professionals and engineering. So here, like projects like these requires the support of both domains. It's like the medical experts, like they know about what kind of research literature should be considered and what kind of factors should be kind of like learned. And the engineer side, they know how to kind of like build such devices. So in the doctor's perspective, you can develop like some kind of tools like which can summarize all the literature, and it will help the doctor to make the decisions regarding the patient's treatment or how to move forward with that patient. And second, like as you know, like patients itself, they will have lots of like questions about their condition and etc. So like even like if they have some kind of symptoms, like they can have like if they want to learn about some of their conditions. So they can have some kind of systems so that they can put in their condition, like it will be like a fully private protected. So some kind of system they can give in their condition and they can get some what can be done, like what they should kind of like do. Is it like an emergency? And also it should be psychosafe. Like even the chatbot won't give like a fully like diagnosis and a treatment, but it will give like suggestions like go to a doctor if it's the worst condition, or give some good suggestions so that the patient would be somewhat educated in that matter itself. And then the third one is like for education, like there are also like in a different domain, like people are working on developing VR tools to kind of like help the students or the medical professionals to kind of like train them on like in a VR for some specific practices and surgeries, etc. So yeah, these are some cool things you can explore. And like if you have any question, like you can ask now itself. I will also kind of like continue. Okay. So I will just tell you how my story went, like how I started my first project. So I selected biomedical engineering, and like initially I wanted to do some project and then I couldn't identify any project, and my background is like fully on the engineering side, mathematical background. So what happened is like, so for during one of the semester break, we had a collaboration. I mean, we kind of had a collaboration with one of the institute in the campus, and we had to go to the hospitals and we had to kind of like analyze their system, so information management system. So while we were going through the visits, like that's the point. Like so, one day, like one of the doctor in the dialysis, one of the physicians in the dialysis unit, kind of like gave us an idea on, okay, what are the struggles that the dialysis patients are going through, like how they have to like do a lot of blood tests and everything to kind of like even measure the blood potassium level, which is kind of like important for them. And he also kind of like suggested like this can be measured in some other means itself, like even like using an EEG signal. So it can be observed from there's kind of like some kind of correlation. So as you can see, like we got the problem from the doctor itself. So that's what it's utmost important thing when it comes to medical research. So as engineers, like in my like we know what kind of techniques we can use, but we don't know the problems. The doctors actually they know the problems, but they are not aware of the techniques exist. So the board units should have to collaborate, like in terms of coming up with good medical innovation. So that's something which happened for us. Like so what we went ahead with the project. So that was our first project. We didn't have much of any knowledge in that. Even we didn't know about processing biosignals. So we didn't have any basic knowledge, even the electronics, like medical instrumentation. So what we did is like we kind of like got help from one of the professors, Dr. Angela De Silva, in our department, and like he taught us about a bit biosignal processing, and from that we started working, and we kind of like developed like a simple, it's not the accurate device, but a simple ECG signal acquisition system, and then we used that to collect data to kind of like train our model, and like which we were able to come up to a level of like a good prototype, but like unfortunately after COVID itself, like we couldn't move forward it. But it was a really good experience, which we like proposing our idea, we were able to win the brainstorm. We were champions, and we won several other competitions based on this idea itself. So that was my starting point, and that kind of like helped in time with my other researchers. So then after that, I kind of like went into research. Like, so for one, I kind of like developed like me and my team, we developed like a algorithm to kind of like detect hand gestures from electrocardiography signal. So let's say if a patient is paralyzed, so you won't have any, like if you can't move his hands or anything, but his brain is functional, like we don't have any means to kind of like communicate with him itself. So but like you can develop systems like you can implant electrons on top of his brain, like and invasive, like it's an invasive technique, but like using those signals, like you can predict the hand gestures. It can be done even with some basic sequence process, and also like with the rising of ML and deep learning, the performance can like increase and accuracy increase. So that can be done. And so my first project, like the project after that was like, it was focused on that, and me and my team, we were able to get some publication out of it. And also continuously, like we kind of like worked on different problems, like let's say on top something like for like a study on sleep behavior analysis, like we developed a system which can detect and predict the postures of the patient, even if there's like a blanket on top of him, like even if the part of the body is not visible. Like, so we came up with a system on that. And me and my team, like we actually came third in one of the international competition based on this solution. And also in my finance, as Kithmin mentioned, like so one of the lecturers back in the university, Dr. Simon Keppel, like he was working on EEG, like measuring EEG through ear, and he had developed some electrode based on that. So my final year project was kind of like focused on that, to use that to kind of like develop like a comfortable sleep monitoring system based on EEG devices. And like we developed like algorithm part and somewhat of a hardware during that. And also, if you're interested, that the project is kind of like still going on, I think for the third batch, like even they are kind of like working on the EEG projects, which fortunately me and my friends, we were able to start. So I just wrote like a small article on how I kickstarted my first project. When I was in undergrad, you can just scan the QR code line, which will take you to that article if you like read. Yeah. So moving on, like now I will like focus on how you can kickstart your project. So there's no best way to kind of like define like how to kind of like do it. There's no best way. Like it depends. Like it might vary like with time. But this is like a pretty much a good overview plan like which you can use. So first, the challenging part is that identifying the problem. So that's the challenging part when you want to do a project. So through that, you need a collaboration between the medical domain and the engineering domain. So the engineering domain will bring up like what kind of tools they know, and the knowledge of like what can be done in engineering domain will help the people in medical domain to kind of like look for the problems which they are facing, so how it can be solved. And yeah, like there was a time where it was hard to kind of like persuade the importance of AI to kind of like a person coming from medical background and or from a biological background. But now like coming out here, like I have seen like everyone is kind of like really excited about AI towards different kinds of application in both medical, even biological application, like drug discovery or related to microscopy, and there are like lots of applications. So the first important problem is like the important challenge itself is the identifying the problem which you want to address. And as I say, the collaboration is a key towards that. And then once you have a problem, what you have to do is like you have to do a vast literature study related to that, because sometimes you might be new to the problem, or sometimes you might already have the knowledge. But it's best to kind of like conduct a literature study to know what the work, like the researchers in the world have done in addressing this issue, and where are the gaps where you can kind of like solve. So some of the good tools where you can use to kind of like do the literature research is like you can go up in a Google Scholar and like type some keywords, like let's say if you want to do like seizure detection, so you can just go there and see what kind of papers in that domain. And also there's a pretty cool tool called Connected Papers, which will kind of like give you like a graph of all the related papers. Like if you start with one paper, it will kind of like give a graph like based on their relevance and importance. Like you can identify, and it will help you to find papers when it comes to literature research. And so like when you're doing the literature research, you like normally like you go to a lot of papers. So it's important to have a good management system for that. So some of the system like in the past, which was mostly used was Mendeley, And now Zotero is kind of like getting, it's really useful nowadays. It's getting famous. Like it's easier to maintain the citations of the paper, and you can keep like small notes and everything. So these are tools like some of the tools which you can use. So there are lots more in the domain. Like these were some which I used in my research. And then moving on, like, so once you have done a good literacy, then you have the knowledge of what you need to do, and you have an idea of like what have been done in that area. So you know what, you have a better perspective compared to before. Then at that stage, you along from the okay. So here also the collaboration important, like because the both side have to discuss and come up to a like a solution which is feasible, which can be implemented. So that's what happens when you do. That's what happens under project definition and scope, and also under feasible study, whether doing this project is feasible. Like let's say the cost wise, or like whether is it possible to get the components related to that, or the resources like cloud or something, etc. And also like is there any data set, like if it's like a ML project, are there any available data sets which can be used, or do we need to do a collection of data? So everything like that's kind of like comes under project definition and scope and feasibility study. So it's like why have I kept it as a loop itself? Like you might have to go back and forward in that area to kind of like come up with a good definition and scope. And so on top of that, like, so if you are interested in doing some algorithm like related analysis towards medical tasks, like you can explore, like there are lots of data set out there which are public. One is like Physionet, which is consists of like lots of physiological signals like let's say EEG, and they have some data sets for sleep stage classification. And there are some EHR, electronic health record data from certain hospitals itself, and there are some extra data as well. And also Stanford also have like a good Stanford AI for medical imaging. They also have like a good repository of data which was collected by them, which have been like released to the public to kind of like researchers to kind of like utilize it. And also you can also find some data set like and competitions in Kaggle where they will release some data set like which also can be utilized in some certain. And also paper with code is one of the cool tool where whatever the paper you find in the literature, let's say if it's like ML paper, and they you can find it in papers with code, like for that particular task, what are the benchmarks are there, what are the performance are achieved, and what are the data set are. So paper with code is one of the cool tools which you can use when you're conducting the feasibility study and etc. Even you can use it during the literature study itself. So let's say once you are done with the project, so you have a good definition of the project and what you need to do, the steps. So next stage come like it's planning and execution. So I assume that you have a good team working on this, so you have to like manage it's more of like a project management task and plus research. So you have to plan and you have to have deadlines, like when to get things done and like when to like complete certain things. So one of the tools, some tools you can use is like for project management, you can have like a Notion where you can have all your collaborators in it and you can like maintain all the documents. It's a great tool which I use kind of like in my research, which is super useful. And for communication, like people use Slack for projects. Pretty much all the labs which I have seen like have like a Slack channel, Slack group, like which they communicate regarding process. And where in that itself you can have different channels for different projects or different tasks itself. So it's pretty much useful communication tool when it comes to projects. And so like when you're doing coding, or even like if you're doing some kind of the hardware side itself, like if you have like a PCB circuit board designs or something, so you can use some version control tools like GitHub to like kind of like manage your progress. So let's say, okay, so now you have done your research, you have done your project, and it's completed. So it's in a good stage to kind of like, so what you should do, so consider publishing your work. So there are lots of conferences, industry conferences and journals out there where you can publish your work. So you could do that. Or if you're going towards like product, making it as a market product itself, so you should focus more on like getting necessary approvals, so such that it can be marketed like something like FDA approval, which is kind of like necessary for medical devices and etc. So, and also most important, like most people kind of have it's to have like a great demonstration of your project. So if you don't have that, people won't remember your project with time, and it will get lost in time. So it's almost important to have like a great demonstration of your project. So yeah, that's pretty much like how, like overview of how you kickstart your project. And yeah, this is just the same thing, like some of the tools which I already mentioned. And like so this is what I mentioned about papers with code, where you have like it has like the benchmark, like what are the performance of each and every techniques achieved. So you can have a, like what are existing benchmarks when you develop like a system, like a solution for the task. And also like I will just talk a bit more, like even if you are like interested in learning, it's a great tool, like because I know many people in a medical background, they have really good knowledge in coding and they have done really cool jobs, cool works, research and etc. So one thing is like mostly from my knowledge, the Python has been like mainly used in many ML related research, and it's a really good tool, like even to do some analysis. And also there's another tool called MATLAB. Sorry, I didn't include it, which also a really good tool when it comes to analyzing signals, etc. And one of the interface which I found useful is like Jupyter Notebook and Colab Notebook, which is something like this, like where like you can just, let's say you have the signal and you can analyze, you can do the plots there itself, and you can see the results and you can just go on. It's like more of an interactive, so you know what's happening in your code itself. And when it comes to ML side, so when it comes to ML, like there are like some frameworks where you can implement your deep learning or machine learning based solution. Like you can use PyTorch, TensorFlow. Scikit-learn is more towards like machine learning related tasks, and there are some tools where you can track your experiments which you conduct during the research, which will help you organize your results and everything. And also at last, and very much important, which kind of like helped, I think, me and most of my batchmates like during our undergrads, it's Coursera, like where we initially learned about machine learning and everything, which kind of like helped us towards like work in our research itself. And also like in YouTube, like you can use it in a really good way, like where there are like lots of lecture series from top universities like MIT and everything in deep learning or in many areas. They have like a playlist of those. And also there are like really cool podcasts you can also use like to learn and identify what's happening in the research world. So yeah, that's pretty much about the project. And like since like the area what the research or the project which you will be like kind of like we'll be focusing on, it's like related to health. So there are some things like we might have to keep in mind. So one is the ethical consideration. Like so you guys, like when you do a work, you will work with some kind of patient data, or you'll somehow like interact with a patient. Like if it's a device or something, you will have to do some testing. So you will interact with the patient and everything. So it's almost impossible to have your ethical, like you have to consider the safety and everything. That's very much important. And when it comes to data itself, like these data are very sensitive. And so just keep in mind, like to have, like when you use this data, let's keep that in mind when you're doing the work. And also when it's research, like the research integrity should be in a high standard in this particular research. That you can't, there have like, I'm not sure, like you might have found out like there have been like some research malpractices happen in some institutes, but like research integrity is utmost important, like because even if small mistake you make or something that might have a really bad effect on someone's life. So that's what as engineers or medical professors in this area we have to keep in mind. So we have to have a high research integrity when it comes to developing solutions towards health-related challenges. So yes, that's pretty much about it. And all the best with your projects, and most importantly, enjoy what you're doing. Yeah. If you all have any questions, like I think me and Kithmin, we can discuss. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kithmin and Mr. Jathurshan. And with that, now we move on to the Q&A session. So if the people in the audience have any questions, they can unmute and directly ask. Or if you are feeling a bit shy, you can type them in the chat box.
think there's some questions on Slido. Do you want me to go through and answer them?
Yep, we have actually received some questions, so I'll actually read them out. So the first one is actually directed to Mr. Kithmin. So it says, what are the difficulties you faced when developing your project? So this is directed towards Mr. Kithmin.
Yes. Yeah, I guess in general, like difficulties faced when developing a project, Jathurshan kind of touched on that as well. Like acquiring, once you figure out a problem idea that you want to solve, figuring out the right technique, approach that you want to do it. If you're from a medical background, you need to get some assistance from, I guess, like people with the know-how on how to do that. If it's the other way around, then like get expertise on the medical side of things, and then actually once you come up with a solution, design and engineer and everything. Biggest challenges are like acquiring the hardware, getting the product ready on time. Usually you run against a deadline, right? Competition or some kind of a submission or something. And then like one of the biggest challenges, I think Jathurshan also would agree, is data, availability of like data for like maybe running a kind of like doing a test model of the AI that you're trying to like build this project around. So those were like big challenges that we had to face, and like within 1 year time spent figuring out how to prioritize which and get things done. Yeah. So yeah, I guess like those were the biggest challenges, and then like allocating time and planning effectively. All those tools Jathurshan mentioned were very helpful, and finishing things off within the right time is always important. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kithmin. And we also have another question. So it says, I'm a medico and I don't know how to come up with an idea, or even don't have any idea where to start. Can you tell something about on the funding options available for medical technology projects? And this question is directed towards Mr. Jathurshan.
Okay. So basically, like, if you don't have idea, like, so one thing what you can do is like look into what kind of work is happening in the area. Like you can just explore some paper. Like if you're like, let's say if you have one specific interested area, like let's say neuroscience, so you can just look into like what people are doing with EEG. So you can start off a project or something like a hobby project in that particular area, and then you can like from there try to when you work on like some particular project itself, then you will get a more understanding, and then you will get a better thinking of like you will even identify some problems when you're doing that project itself. So that itself will give you an idea on like for a new project which you can work on, which will be a super novel thing. So that might be a good thing. Like so start with some like already existing problem, and even you can start implementing something like which is already there. Then you will like know like what are the issues, and then you can move forward. And another thing would be like it's better to kind of like speak to people like who are like interested in your particular area itself, or even if you don't have pretty much an interested area, you can just talk to people, like talk to experts there, and then you can like work on that. And towards the funding, like so that's one of the challenge. So when it comes to like doing really good research in our countries, like some of the professors might have some funding which would help you to like publish your papers and everything. And another thing what you can do, like what me and my friends did, like during our final year time, we didn't have any funding because of one particular reason of COVID, and the country was going through the economic crisis. So we didn't have any funding for our final project itself. So what we did before was kind of like say, so previously, like in our second and third year, like we went for competitions and we tried to win those competitions, and we saved the cash which we got there, which is kind of like helped us to somewhat fund our like the electronic side and everything. It was not even much of a sufficient, but like it helped us to kind of like do the FIP. So that's how we tackled it. Also, like if you want to like do like a product, like if you want to make it as a product itself, there are like competitions which are focusing on startups and venture capitals. And so you can like go to those competitions and you can pitch your idea, and if the investors, they like your idea, they will fund you, get some funding towards a project, and you can work on it. So if you are like going towards more of a like a startup itself. Yeah. Wait, I think, can you name some? Okay. So I would say so I'll just give examples like what are the competition which I took part. So one was the brainstorm, that was pretty much like I think the only biomedical related competition which I knew back then. And there were competition like IEEE Innovation Nation, that is more towards like a startup. In that direction, they kind of like give you some resources. When you win it, like they give you some prize money along with some resources to help you like run a company. Like even they also had something like Amazon resources as well, like cloud resource, AWS resources as well. And there's another one in University of Motor itself, which is Mora Ventures, which is towards like with help you some funding. And also I think Kithmin also kind of has shared like there are some international competitions which is like you can explore. There's something called Brain.io, which is from GTech company. That's like they provide you with data and you have to do analysis and you have to just develop a solution and present it there. And undergrads from our university has won those competitions itself. So you can participate on those, and the prize money is really good, which itself can support a project in Sri Lanka. And also there are some IEEE related projects like IEEE VI pickup. So those are mostly competition, but like they need some kind of biological side as well. And even one of the projects, I think Kithmin also can add on it, like the Brain Neocare project we did, the what we participated in. Our team kind of like had like engineers and a doctor. It's like a more like a diverse team, like which kind of like focus on that problem. I think Kithmin, you can also add on the team formation regarding as well, because
yeah, I think those relevant ideas, Jathurshan. Mainly, I guess, like having a balance between a good team consisting of doctors and engineers and targeting both local and international competitions is very much helpful. I also agree with Jathurshan, like winning prize money from international competitions and then funding your research using that. It's very efficient way of doing projects. Agreed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jathurshan and Mr. Kithmin, for answering those questions. And with that, we have come to the end of our workshop. So on behalf of the MedX2023 Organizing Committee, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to the esteemed speakers, Mr. Jathurshan Pradeepkumar and Mr. Kithmin Wickremasinghe, for sharing their valuable insights and expertise with our participants. We appreciate the time and effort you dedicated to making this workshop a success. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and making our event truly special. As we draw close to this insightful workshop on how to kickstart your project, we hope all the participants have gained valuable insight and strategies for transforming their innovative ideas into tangible realities. In our second workshop on Tech in Medicine series, we will delve into the crucial processes of determining the feasibility of your innovative ideas in the field of medical technology. Join us as we explore the key considerations, evaluate potential challenges, and guide you to ensure the practicality of your unique concept. The knowledge you acquire from this workshop will strengthen your position to success at MedX23. And with that, we conclude the first workshop of MedX. We express our sincere appreciation to all the participants who have actively engaged in the workshop and demonstrated remarkable enthusiasm for innovation and healthcare field. We look forward to meeting you soon at our second workshop, and we're excited to witness the innovative projects that will emerge from these shared experiences. With that, I thank you all and have a good night.